America, this is the Business Pulse. I'm Chuck Barham. We're brought to you by the Freedom Chamber, online at freedomchamber.net, the pro-American business network. Well, usually we've got our partners in crime, but we've got one partner here today. It's Dean Owen. Rod Martin is out on assignment, but you can still find him online at rodmartin.org and sign up for the Martin Report. Dean, a lot going on geopolitically here in the world. I'd love to get your thoughts on what you see happening with China, North Korea, and with Russia all kind of posing in a nice picture together to kind of give Trump the middle finger.
Yeah. One thing, if you keep watching this administration, you'll never be bored because they give us plenty to be entertained about.
Yes, they do.
And look at what's going on with China and Russia and North Korea. That's a dog and pony show. Russia does not want to be cozied up to China. They're natural enemies. They fought wars against each other. There's no way Putin is dumb enough that he wants China to be his number one customer, because China will put the screws to him in a heartbeat. And he knows that. Maybe he's evil, whatever, but he's not stupid. And so, China just did that big military parade where they're trying to show off all this stuff and everything. And then lo and behold, what happens? We get that video of President Trump ordering the narc boat shot up out of the water, which we've all seen and rather enjoyed and had some good jokes about. And that's got to be the fact that we've got warships off the coast of Venezuela, which is a place where China is trying to make big inroads. We're sending our signals back. And so there's a lot of dog and pony show going on with China, Russia, and Ukraine, and North Korea. But I wouldn't put a whole lot of stock in it. Those countries that are all unsustainable. They don't have the means to sustain themselves, much less project power and be a global force. If you look at China and the amount of economic growth it's had in the last 25 years, it equals the amount of money they borrowed. As a nation, they've never made a profit. So they're a paper tiger. The difficult part with that is a sick, wounded dog will bite first out of fear. So we have to manage that. And I believe we've got the right president to manage that for us. But he's managing a lot right now. So
absolutely is. And then locally on the home front, unemployment kind of staggered itself a little bit, didn't really go up, didn't really go down. You and Rod had talked about it from day one here in the Business Pulse, that this economy is humming. It's just a matter of really getting its legs underneath it and really getting out in front of itself.
Well, and you start to look at the number of government layoffs that have happened at the federal level, it's been significant. So that is a drain on the overall headline employment number. And so our private sector jobs are still growing. Things are working well in that regard. But you still got this, we're going to go through this period where unemployment is cracked. And a big piece of that is going to be the tailwinds of what DOGE has done, how grossly overstaffed the federal government is, how the number of federal employees just absolutely exploded under Biden. And we're not even getting back to where we were at the end of the first Trump administration. We haven't got there yet. I think we will get there and keep going. But, we're going to have this drain on the labor force as federal employees get shifted around and out of the federal government and into the private sector. And then some of them are going to have to figure out how to actually go to work. And, so there's going to be some period here, and a lot of folks, they're going to sit back and they'll lean on unemployment for a while, and they think they can just maybe have some beans on the shelf and not work. But what I see is everything's pointing towards Q1 of next year. The IRS has not gone in and changed the withholding tables for tips or for overtime. So those people are still overpaying their withholdings. So they're not feeling the benefit of the tax bill. They will in January. So not unlike a lot of other administrations, they're willing to let the pain come for the first year of their administration so that they get the boom in the second year going into the midterms. And that looks like what's playing out. That's pretty common for presidents to do that. They make the hard decisions the first year and the third year, and then get the reward in the second and fourth, trying to save the next election cycle.
Absolutely. And one of those things that President Trump and his administration have been in a dogfight with have been President Trump and J.B. Pritzker at each other. And now Mayor Brandon Johnson. Where I sit exactly 21.4 miles to the northwest of downtown Chicago. I can look right out of our offices here at the Freedom Chamber and see the downtown skyline. I talk to business owners all the time. Majority of them I talk to have businesses in Chicago. They want what President Trump is offering to J.B. Pritzker and to Brandon Johnson. It is insanity to me that we allow this to take place in one of the most beautiful cities in the world that has so much to offer when it is a safe place. Right now, it's not a safe place. These business owners are looking for it. The people of Chicago are in need of it. How many murders did we have over the weekend? I believe it was 7 or 8, 57, 58 people shot over the course of a 3-day weekend. That's unheard of. But why is there so much resistance from the other side of the fence? It's all about control. So I welcome Dean Owen's thoughts on that as well, because that affects the business world. Businesses are going to keep pulling out of Chicago. They're going to keep pulling out of Illinois because of it. Welcome your thoughts, Dean.
If you look at this, at almost everything that goes on from the left, from the perspective that a significant number of political leaders on the left have been bought off or they're owned by China, it all makes an awful lot of sense. Destruction in our cities is good for China, it's bad for America. Open borders is good for China, bad for America. Defund police is good for China, bad for America. The perceived racial problems we have in this country, and we don't have racial problems in this country to any material extent whatsoever, but the perception that we do is good for China. So when we go over and say, what are you doing with your youngers? They said, that's none of your business. What are you doing with the race problems in America? So if you look at it from that perspective, that China has taken over and being able to bribe or blackmail a significant number of Democrats, if not most all, and too many Republicans, then all of these policies make sense. Outside of that lens, none of it makes sense. And if that's the only lens that you can find clarity on, that's probably the lens you need to be looking at. So who in their right mind would oppose the president using the National Guard, the local National Guard, who's tied to that city and tied to that community to help police? Well, China really doesn't want that. The legal warfare that's going on, the opposition to the president declaring a state of emergency, or that the acts that he has invoked have been enforced for decades, generations, some of them well over a century. No one has ever questioned those actions by a president. If you remember, Johnson sent in troops in the late 60s. FDR sent in troops. Lincoln sent in troops. Washington sent troops to squelch uprisings. This is nothing new. There's nothing illegal about it. This is lawfare by a bunch of liberal judges that we're going to need to get rid of and get transitioned out of. And then once we do, fortunately, the good part of this is that it's going to go to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court's going to find it legal, and then we'll settle that question. And just one by one, you got to stomp out all these different oppositions, because now the president's going to restore the power that a president should have. Particularly back in the early 70s, when Nixon and Watergate was going on, there was a lot of activities done to try to quell the power of a sitting president. And those have been in law they're not law, they're accepted norms. Well, if there's anything about this president, he doesn't go along with accepted norms. He blows them up. So that's what's going to happen. And it sucks that we have to go through this. I get it. I don't like it any more than anyone else, but I do see the beauty on the other side. When President Trump can go through, clean up this illegal immigration much more effectively. I noticed the other day that there was an article by a liberal think tank, and I listened to that because I want to know what my enemy thinks. And it was tens of thousands of people are lining up to apply for jobs to work for ICE. And big bonuses, and it was the commentary from the left was that the economy's so bad and Trump's ruined everything so bad nobody's got jobs. No, that's not the narrative. What President Trump is doing is overwhelmingly popular. Overwhelming number of people in America support him. And I think he also knows how to do good. This president is always checking 3 or 4 boxes at one time. So he's doing good with illegal immigration and getting crime out. He's also dividing the country into two very, very distinct camps, a very large 80 to 90% majority who agree with him, and then the 10 or 20% who don't. And what does that set up for the midterms? When we talk about the redistricting, what does that set up for the midterms? We talk about a censure, pulling another census. What does that do? It sets it up for midterms. We know that the Republican Party was disfavored by about 10% or more. That's coming from the census people themselves. It's coming from that government agency. So we're in the process. It's going to take some time to fix this, but when we get on the other side of this, it will be glorious.
Love it. Thank you, Dean, for that perspective. On the other side of the break, Dean, we're going to be joined by the president of 13 Stripes Digital Media. Darren McAfee is his name. He's got some big news to share with you and the rest of our Freedom Chamber members. That is going to be a very, very good thing as you try to find new customers and grow your business. This is the Business Pulse. Go ahead,
One
Dean.
last thought.
Go ahead, bud.
Jerome Powell is now on record for approving mortgage fraud.
Enough said. Dean
Lisa
just threw the
Cook will
hammer
go.
down. On the other side of the break, we'll talk to President Darren McAfee of 13 Stripes Digital Media and find out how we can put the power of what they have to work for your business. Freedom Chamber, thank you so much for sponsoring us. This is the Business Pulse.
Thanks for having me.
My name is Dean Owen. I'm a CPA. I have a master's degree in taxation and a personal financial specialist. Tax laws are always changing. That's why you need a tax strategist, not just a tax preparer. You need someone to help you pay the least amount of tax legally, because if your business and retirement tax planning is not tax smart, it's probably tax dumb. Let's fix that today. Call me. Let's disinherit the government and not your kids. That's what my team and I do. This is who we are. I'm a combat veteran, unapologetically American, unapologetically pro-God, pro-life, and pro-Second Amendment. If those are the values you seek in a tax and money advisor, call us. Again, let's disinherit the government and not your kids. We're not afraid to share our values, and we share them with you.
America, welcome back to the Business Pulse. I'm Chuck Barham. We're brought to you by the Freedom Chamber. Online at freedomchamber.net, the pro-American business network. One of the businesses you can find inside of the Freedom Chamber, outside of ONCPA, is 13 Stripes Digital Media. And we are joined by the president of 13 Stripes, Darren McAfee. Darren, welcome into the Business Pulse.
Hi, Chuck. Thanks for having me.
So you guys have some big news to announce to all of our Freedom Chamber members right here inside the Business Pulse, and then we're going to hopefully have a huge announcement to the rest of the world. But let's give some inside football knowledge to the people inside the Freedom Chamber on what 13 Stripes just acquired.
Yeah, 13 Stripes, the digital media, we focus on helping, parallel economy loving, patriot-minded, small and medium-sized businesses, political causes and candidates. And that's always been our lane. And what we've done over the last year or so is acquired a large amount of data, conservative data, Christian data. And we're now able to take that out to the marketplace and allow our Freedom Chamber partners to tap into this data and use that to grow their businesses as well. We're really excited about it. We've acquired about 70 million.
Yeah. Large number.
Records. I know I buried the lead there a little bit, but it's huge, and we couldn't be more excited, because what this is going to do is allow us to help our clients and our Freedom Chamber partners to get directly in front of the exact people they want to do business with.
So let's say that one more time. 70 million people we can now help target. Households, records, however you want to call it. Freedom Chamber members can now dive deep into, say, a 5-mile radius, a 10-mile radius, a 20-mile radius, and find those people.
From nationwide to county, DMA, zip codes, or if it's, your small town USA, any town USA, just let us know. We'll pull the records that we have. You can acquire that data, and then we can help you push that out and get your message and your marketing, your branding, your advertising directly in front of those folks on any digital screen, anywhere, anytime. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Dean, as a business owner, what's that? Does that tickle your fancy?
Oh, it does, in huge ways. At a very personal level, Darren didn't know this before we got on, but back at the first of the year, until back the first of the year, I had been using the local NBC station as my primary growth engine. And what I didn't realize, because I wasn't watching it, is During COVID, I was on the TV a lot being a public service about COVID. Well, in 24, all the COVID stuff died, and so did their ability to reach my audience because they had turned so hard left. They went lunatic left. And of course, that means insulting our values, insulting the things we believe, and insulting us for a political purpose. Basically almost destroyed the station. They went from over almost 150 employees down to about 30. Because I'm in Western Kentucky. This is red, conservative, patriotic, evangelical USA. And I know personally for what I do with in money and investing and taxes, we get really deep in people's personal lives. And, money isn't the most important thing. It never is, but it's always in the top 3 or 4. And I want to make sure that I'm helping people who my values align with and they align with we have like-minded, patriotic, conservative, evangelical. That's who I am. That's who my team is. And when I work with those folks, and those are the folks that we're taking care of, my team goes home happy. They may go home tired, but they go home rewarded. I've had a couple of times when someone from the other side of the fence gets in and it just wears us out. So, I guess if you're selling sneakers or pizza, maybe this is not such a big deal. But if you're in a professional services where you get to know your customer and you're going to have a lot of personal interaction with them, being able to target that group of people, exclusivity is huge. It's absolutely mind-blowing how important that is. So you're doing God's work. I appreciate it.
Yes, yeah, I couldn't agree more. And we have found over the last 3 years that it's gotten worse than it's ever been. Like you mentioned COVID, since COVID, but just even in the last 18 or 24 months, there's a lot of, media companies out there, a lot of digital agencies out there, believe it or not, that don't really like you if you're conservative, if you have a flag on your profile, if your company profile picture, things like that. And we've helped a lot of small and medium-sized businesses fight the battles that will inevitably come up, and even some battles that they don't even know they're having. They'll get squelched, they'll get smashed, they'll get tamped down. A lot of times they don't even know it. And what this list or what this data will allow these Freedom Chamber partners to do is know we're pinpointing exactly the right audience in exactly the way you want to reach them, instead of that what we call spray and pray, which is what you're doing when you go and making a regular media buy.
So what would be some of the ways inside of 13 Stripes Digital Media that we could, a business owner inside the Freedom Chamber could harness that 70 million database of records to utilize to help boost their company and their profits? How could they put that to work?
Yeah, there's a number of ways, or what we call digital tactics. The most commonly used it would be, addressable tactics, digital tactics like geofencing, addressable geofencing. So in other words, instead of geofencing, using digital pinpoints to geofence, say, a Costco or a stadium in your city or something like that, we can actually geographically fence these people's home addresses and all the devices in that home address. We can do addressable CTV or connected television, streaming television. So if you've got a television commercial or you want to get one produced, instead of doing that local television buy, you can go do an actual connected TV buy, which are non-skippable, and you can serve those up directly in those people's homes of those folks that you just acquired from us. And then there's also things like targeted email. We have a cold email warm-up process that works tremendously for small businesses too. And so you can use it for that. A lot of folks will also take the list or data that they acquire from us, and they'll use it in their own CRM system, customer relationship management systems, and use it for their own email drip campaigns and things like that. But there's a number of ways. 6 or 7 main digital tactics work really well with this data, for sure.
So I think the thing that's important to know is that instead of that shotgun approach, you can do a rifle sniper approach to where you're trying to target Chuck Barham. And once Chuck does what you want him to do, you can take him out of the process and put somebody back in. Am I right?
Exactly. So, for instance, if you are in a medium-sized market or city, you want that customer that's the ideal customer for you to feel like, oh, I see you everywhere. Well, they don't necessarily, but we can create that scenario without wasting valuable marketing and advertising dollars by knowing we get directly in front of those folks. with these tactics that we're talking about.
Dean, you got a question for Darren? You'd like to know about with Owen CPA, how he could put it to work for you?
Yeah, we're getting ready to do some rebranding, and so Darren, we need to be talking after sometime next week. But for us, we live in Western Kentucky. It's a lower cost of living area, but just thinking through, if we target, there are a fairly significant number of very conservative people in Southern California. They don't have much of a voice, but they are. So if you can fence that off in an area where they're hearing a conservative voice, they're hearing people that are like-minded, have the same values, share the same beliefs. They're not going to see that on their local media. They're not going to see that everywhere else. And it's going to be, hey, I click with this guy. And and of course, that's a super high cost of living area. So it probably costs twice as much to get a tax return done there as it does at my place. But, so there's a lot of options. I could see that, just being able to brainstorm some things and doing some really nice stuff. So
Yeah,
having
you're
that option.
exactly right, Dean. I mean, it would help you cut through that clutter, cut through that fat that you would have to kind of sift through in a normal media buy. Now with this list and this
Right.
data that we have, we can get directly in front of the exact type of customer or client that you want to work with, and do that really cost effectively. That's the huge thing. Is we'll help save you. We're going to get you more impressions, more clicks, and ultimately more revenue for the dollars that you do spend.
That's the way to do it. Darren, where can people get in touch with you at 13 Stripes?
Just go to 13stripesmedia.com. That's 13stripesmedia.com. And you can fill out a short, 6-field inquiry form there, or you can just call us. Our number's on there as well. And just reach out. We'd love to chat with you and just talk about what the options are. And even if you just have questions, my door is always open just to kind of help weed through, what some of the challenges may be and help you formulate a plan that's going to be right for you and your small business.
Fantastic. Well, Rod Martin, our other partner in crime, is out on assignment today. You can find him online at rodmartin.org and sign up for the Martin Report. And Dean, where can people get in touch with you and get that newsletter?
OwenCPA.com. That's OWENCPA.com. Jump online. There's a landing page there. Give us your name and email address. We won't spam you. The emails we send out are entirely educational. We're trying to be a public service, and we're told it's one of the best in the country because we are trying to be a public service, not trying to sell you a bunch of stuff.
Love it. Love it. Dean, thank you for your time. Darren, thank you for your time. And what I'd like to do, Darren, is once we dive deeper into those records and you get clients involved with this, I'd love to have some of the clients that you've worked with back on Inside the Business Pulse as examples and, given their testimonials on how it's worked for them, because the Freedom Chamber, that's why we designed it. It's for this, exactly for this, to work together, as Dean just said. Not here to try to upsell you on something. We're just trying to do God's work and do the good work. So
That'd be
Dean
great.
and
We'd be
Darren,
honored to do that.
absolutely. We'll have you back on. Dean and Darren, you guys need to connect next week. And we appreciate everybody that's inside the Freedom Chamber online at freedomchamber.net. This has been the Business Pulse.
Hey, the Freedom Chamber is amazing. I'm so glad that we get to be here on the Freedom Chamber's Business Pulse. This is an organization you should support. It's an organization of which you should be a member. The Freedom Chamber is getting important things done in this country. And honestly, we need spaces for people who believe the sorts of things that if you're watching this, you probably do. We have gone through this extended period of not just canceling individuals, but just boycotting businesses and doing terrible things, debanking. Nigel Farage, who is likely to be the next prime minister of the United Kingdom, was actually debanked by all the major banks in the United Kingdom. And of course that happens here, and we get de-insured and all these terrible things. The Freedom Chamber is fighting for you. The Freedom Chamber is here to make sure that you're protected, that your values matter, they count, and they're in the public square. So I encourage everybody to join the Freedom Chamber.